What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Yugi-Kaiba format video. And you didn't think I was done with dragons, did you? I know I showed off a more standard build of that deck in my last video, and, it didn't do too hot. It bricked pretty badly, and I wasn't able to pull off the combo. So, you might think that I was just done with the deck, but no, I'm not giving up on this thing. And I've come up here with a pretty spicy take on the deck. Pretty interesting take on the deck that I think might help a little bit with some of its problems. But we'll just have to see. So this is Dragon Stall, as I put it. And basically the idea is that game one, you play a regular stall mill deck, which is one of the better decks in the format. And then games 2 and potentially 3, you side into a dragon deck of sorts with the expectation that your opponent has likely, sided out of some trap holes or Wobokus, and will thus make your combo a bit more consistent, and you'll hopefully be able to get a game or two off of that. Actually, you only really need one game off of that if you've won game 1, like Stallmill usually does. So I think this is a really neat deck idea, and I think it does have some merit because playing more defensive options in the deck does mean that you're probably going to get more time to draw in to your, Lord of D, Flute Summoning Dragon, Blue Eyes combo. So I think it's pretty good. I think there are definitely some changes you can make, like you could include Curse of Dragons in the side deck to keep the Soul Control package in, if you so choose. I've chosen to side out the Soul Control package whenever I go into the Dragon package, because I just think it's a bit too bricky when you're already playing some bricks. But it's definitely a direction you could go in. The deck also does have some other flaws, like your opponent's probably going to side into a bit more Soul Control against your stall deck, and this doesn't really counter that much unless you actually manage to pull off the Lord of D Dragon combo. Because if you've pulled that off, then Soul Control can have a really tough time dealing with it because Summon Skull isn't big enough to get over a dragon, and the dragons can't be targeted with Soul Exchange while Lord of D is on the field. But that's a big if, and if your opponent is able to set up like a Summon Skull on their field and manage to get through some of your defenders while you're trying to draw into your combo, then you can be in for a pretty rough time. But, this is all theory about this deck. We won't know until we actually see it in action. But before we get to see it in action, let's dive in to the deck breakdown. So the main deck here is pretty much standard stall mill. We're only playing one card destruction here because 44 cards makes it even less consistent after the side decking process. So that's why we only have one card destruction in here. I know that some dragon builds do just main deck card destruction when they're playing dragons, because card destruction can discard things like Blue Eyes, potentially setting you up for a Monster Reborn play, but also potentially drawing you deeper into your combo pieces that you need. I'm not the biggest fan of this, but I understand why it is popular, and I don't think it's a bad strategy. So I think you could definitely maybe play 44 cards, keep some card destructions in once you've sided into dragons, if you so choose. But I'm just going with the one card destruction in the main deck, and I do side it out when I'm siding into the dragon deck. But this is a pretty standard style mill deck. We're playing all the 2K defenders, Aquamator, Giant Soldier Stone, Spirit of the Heart, Mystical Elf. We're playing the 3 Wall of Illusion. We're playing the 3 Man-Eater Bug. These are great at clearing our opponent's field a bit, sending them back a turn or two. We're playing 3 Gyakuteno Megami, along with 2 Soul Exchange, 1 Change of Heart, to, have a bit more removal and also be able to bring out more defenders. For the other spells, we are playing Dark Hole, 3 Fishers, Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed, Raigeki, and 2 Swords of Revealing Light. Just pretty standard cards in pretty much every deck. But the swords can help, stall for a bit longer, which is the main win con of the deck. And each of these spells has their own synergy with the stall strategy in particular, which you can see in my past stall mill videos. And then for the traps, of course, we have 3 Trap Hole, which is removal on our opponent's turn, 3 Wuboku, which protects our life points and our monsters, and of course 3 Ultimate Offering, which is really the backbone of a lot of stall decks. Being able to bring out defenders during your opponent's battle phase is just so powerful. And so that's why we are playing a full 3 copies. These do get sided out when we go into the dragon strategy, however. For the side deck, we have 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon, our dragon of choice. We have 3 Lord of D because we don't want to play a Last Will, just because it's a bit less consistent in a 43 card deck. So I like playing the 3 Lord of D. I don't know. I think you could probably do a Last Will there, but I feel like just 3 Lord of D is fine, especially if you've slowed the game down to a point where if you do lose 1 Lord of D from a trap hole, you can just potentially draw another and summon that out. So I don't think it's bad having 3 Lord of D instead of like 2 and a Last Will, but you can definitely side in the Last Will if you want to instead. We also have 2 Flute Summoning Dragon. Now, as I said in the last video, I think this could definitely bump up to 3. Maybe you cut a Battle Ox for a 3rd Flute Summoning Dragon. But I think 2 is fine. You do want to draw it, but if you draw too many of them, then you'll be in pretty big trouble. So I think 2 is ideal for me. And then, of course, we have just our regular beaters. We have 3 Lodgin, 1 Battle Ox, 3 Reinforcements. This is to go a bit aggressive and also to bait your opponent into using things like Trap Hole, like, you know, just any removal options that can really do your dragon board in. So I think that including a bit of a more aggressive package like this is pretty good. It can also get them to use up like Wubokus if you put enough offensive pressure on them, as Wubokus can be a real big problem for your dragon board if they still have Wubokus in the deck. Which oftentimes a lot of decks just do keep in Wubokus and Trap Holes going into games 2 or 3 against a stall deck, because they figure that the opponent might be able to side into a more aggressive strategy, and that could be really unfortunate for them if they've sided out some of their most powerful tools to safeguard against that. So this, of course, is not 100% sound. Like, most people do keep in the problem threats that you'd like them to side out, but I do think it's kind of interesting, and it can potentially win a game or two. So let's see if it actually does. Let's dive in to the duels. Okay, we've got our first game against Pack Attack. I think this is their first time being featured in a duel on the channel, so that's very exciting. Seeing new blood in the format is always great. So let's hope it's a good game here. We are going first here, which is pretty good for a stall deck. It lets us draw into Ultimate Offering quicker, potentially. So this is not the best hand. We have defenders, so we can potentially just wall up before they have a chance to do anything. But that's all we have. So if they have ways to get around these defenders, get in for a lot of damage, we can be in major trouble here. So we'll just set a defender, set a fisher as a bluff. They will swords. Makes me very glad we didn't set the man-eater bug, but luckily we just have Spirit of the Harp. This could bode very poorly if they have like a monster and a fisher. Then we could be taking some damage here that we wouldn't want to take, but let's hope they don't have that combo. Looks like they don't. They're just going to set 1 pass back to us. We figure that it's very likely that's a man-eater bug, because why would they really set a defender when they have swords up? So we're just going to set a mystical elf and pass back to them. Yes, it will get popped by the bug probably, but at least this way we'll still have a defender on board if they do pop one of our monsters. And we've got defenders up the wazoo, so we don't really care too much if one of them dies. Pass back to them. It is a bug, so they will pop the mystical elf, and they will bring out a summoned skull, which is really good against us here. If we didn't have a way to deal with that, that would be really rough. And they'll pass back to us, and we have a couple options here. We can like set the Wall of Illusion to bounce the skull back to hand. We can set the man-eater bug to pop the skull when they attack in. But I think the safest option is just to activate Fisher, set a defender, pass back to them. Yes, it means that we'll have no back row, so they'll know that we can't do anything against major offensive pushes that they might have. but I think it's the safest option here because if they have like a change of heart or anything that can deal with our set answers to the summoned skull, then we're going to take a lot of damage here. So we do think about it for a bit, and we will just set a defender, activate Fisher, pass back to them, and they're going to bring out Neo, attack into our set, and luckily they can't get over that. So it looks like we might have made the right choice, and Ultimate Offering is a great draw here. Just it will turn our entire hand on next turn. If they do have a Fisher to clear the Aquamador, we can bring out another defender. It's just incredibly, incredibly good here. They're going to bring out another Neo and just pass back to us. Looks like they don't really have a way to out this defender, which makes us feel very happy given that we have a way to bring out more defenders. So we're going to think a bit, and we are just going to set the Mystical Elf. The reason I do this is because I'm trying to bait out like a Raigeki or something, and I can just bring out more defenders after with Ultimate Offering. Maybe this is a bit greedy, but I figure I'm in a good enough spot that I can do this. And they will use up the Raigeki, bring out a Battle Ox, and just try to attack in. Luckily, we have Ultimate Offering, so we can just bring out a defender. And it looks kind of rough for them. They won't be able to get over that. And pass back to us. Card destruction isn't the best right now. We'll just set it and pass back to them. It's good to have for later, though. They're just going to set 2, pass back to us. It's very likely that's a Man-Eater bug. It could be a defender and they're baiting us, but either way, they're out of Raigekis, so we can commit more to the board because, like, what are they going to do? Dark Hole? That's a really bad trade for them, so I feel comfortable just setting another and passing back to them. They are going to flip up the Man-Eater, pop the Aquamador, pass back to us. We do draw Raigeki, and we could use Raigeki here, which would be a great 4-for-1. But honestly, they don't really have a way to deal with our board, so we don't really feel the need to do it yet. If they do somehow, like, you know, Fisher away our Aquamador, reinforcements to get over our defender, we can just bring out, like, a Wall of Illusion, which would be kind of rough with their Man-Eater bug, getting that bounce back to hand. But if they do reset the bug, we can Raigeki then. And so I feel pretty good about this. They're just going to switch the bug to defense, pass back to us. Pretty good sign. We're just going to set the Raigeki, because why not? They're going to set another card, pass back to us. We'll set a Trap Hole, pass back to them. And they are going to attack into the Aquamador, so they do have reinforcements there. And it looks like they're not going to try for our other set, which means that they likely don't have another reinforcement set. And they're just going to set another card, which is likely a Man-Eater bug, because, again, why would they set a defender on this board? So now we've got a really prime Raigeki here. We can trade a 1 card for 5 cards, which is just insanely good. And we can just pass back to them. We don't need to commit more to board because now they actually do have a potentially good Dark Hole target here. They're going to bring out a Giant Soldier. We're fine with that. They're going to switch... they're going to change of heart to switch control of our Giant Soldier. And they're going to try and attack in for damage here. We're just going to set a Wall of Illusion. We do get the Giant Soldier back to hand here, which is pretty nice. And they're just going to Dark Hole the board to try and deprive us of defenders. And also to get out some monsters with these last wills here. So that's pretty neat. They managed to bring out 2 1500s, which could be really problematic for us if they've got a way to deal with our defenders. Luckily, again, as I said, we've got defenders up the wazoo. And also now we have the Gyakuteno Megami and Soul Exchange combo online. So we're feeling pretty good about this. We're just going to set a defender here and pass back to them. They don't do anything, which means that they likely don't have a way to deal with our defender here. We're feeling pretty good about that. We could have set another monster here because we know they don't have any mass board clears. The issue is that we don't really want to use a Man-Eater bug on a 1500 attack monster. And if we do Wall of Illusion, they can get back the Stern Mystic, set it, reveal our sets. I don't think that matters too much, but it could potentially. So we don't really have to worry. We can just keep our monsters in hand. And we draw another Wall of Illusion. It's nice to have for the Ultimate Offering when that comes up, but they're just going to set more and pass back to us. We're going to set the Dark Hole. Maybe this is a mistake because we're not really incentivized to use it. So it's just sitting dead in our back row potentially. But if they do have like a card destruction, then that would be pretty bad, losing the Dark Hole. So Card destruction would also be pretty bad here in general because it would put us below them in terms of deck counts. But luckily we do have a card destruction of our own to potentially counteract that. So we are playing a bit risky if they do have card destruction, but I'm not too worried. Boku's a decent draw. We will set the Wall of Illusion here because it doesn't look like they're attacking any of our monsters. And, like, we're at 7 cards, so we don't really want to discard a good defender. They're going to bring out Battle Ox. They're going to Ultimate Offering here to bring out another an offensive defender now. And just try and attack in. It's a wall. They'll use reinforcements to get over it. And they are just going to attack into our first set and take 500. So we're feeling pretty good about this. We can just set another defender, pass back to them. Again, they're out of mass board removal, so feeling pretty good. They're going to Uboku to protect themselves from the chip damage of this giant soldier. Also clears up a back row zone, which could be useful later on in the game. We're just going to set another defender. Again, they don't have board clears left, so no real risk to doing this. They're going to Reborn back a Summoned Skull attack into our giant soldier. Kind of unfortunate, but not the worst thing in the world. And this was technically an illegal activation of Uboku. I don't really care. They could have activated it beforehand. I don't think the chip damage is going to matter. And they could have activated it afterwards if they wanted to clear up a monster zone. So, it's fine. We both missed it in the moment. Doesn't matter in the long run. So, we're just going to Soul Exchange their Summoned Skull away to bring out a Gyakuteno, which is great because it drops us down 2 cards in hand, which means that we won't have to keep committing to the board to prevent discarding. And also it makes a potential card destruction on their part even less good, so that is pretty good. Ultimate Offering is not the best draw here, but it's not the worst. It's free discard fodder for if we go up to 7. And we will just discard it. It doesn't help us any at this point. So they draw a Fisher and are able to clear a Spirit of the Harp. Not the worst thing in the world. I mean, we can just set another defender. They are just going to draw a pass. We're getting close to the point where a card destruction could finish them off, which is very nice. We're just going to set a Bug because, again, we don't really want to discard. And Bug can pop things, so it's not the worst. They're going to bring out a Lodge-In. Maybe we should have Trap Hold here just to open up a back row zone, but we're saving Trap Hold for if they do have any Summoned Skulls left in the deck. Looks like they're just going to pass back to us, though. We're just going to flip up Bug, pop their Lodge-In, and then set a Gyakuteno. You know, if we draw Soul Exchange later, that's kind of rough, but we don't really care. They don't have mass board removal, so this is a pretty... We've just won the game, basically, at this point. We just need to maneuver our card destruction well to end the game as quickly as possible. They're just going to activate Uboku and flip up everything just to see what we're working with. And Wall of Illusion is great if they don't bring out that monster again. We can just card destruction them for game. They will bring out a monster, unfortunately, though. So we will Trap Hole it just to clear up a back row. And they'll Last Will, which is honestly nice for us because while it does deprive them of a card in hand for our card destruction, it does also lower their deck count by 1, so feels pretty good for us. Fisher, not a bad draw. We can activate it to clear up a card in hand. And now this is the end of the game, potentially. Yep, that's the end of the game. We just activate card destruction here. We just do this. I don't know why. I think we might not realize that it's card destruction winning here, and this is just the end of the game. So that was game 1. Pretty standard stall mill matchup. Last World Turbo does have a really tough time against stall mill just because it doesn't really have as many outs to 2K defenders. So that was a very good matchup for us. And, you know, game one was pretty much assured in our favor just from the deck matchup. Game 2 will be where it gets interesting. We're going to side in our dragon deck here, and they're going to put in their anti-stall tech, apparently, in the side decking process. So hopefully this will work out for us. Hopefully they've sided out of Trap Holes and Mubokus, potentially. But let's see. They're going to bring out Lodgin, set 1, pass back to us. We're just going to set a defender. If they can't get over it, that'll be pretty nice. And then we're going to set 3. Maybe setting the flute was a mistake because we know that they have Stern Mystics, or at least they had Stern Mystics game 1. But I think we're hoping that they sided out of the Stern Mystics potentially. And yeah, it's just kind of rough if we don't get to pull off the Dragon Strategy game 2 and they Stern Mystic to see the flute, then the game plan's kind of out there and we won't be able to take them by surprise game 3. So it's kind of rough, but that's a big if they have Stern Mystics. They're going to use reinforcements to get over our defender there. And we're just going to set another defender. Ah, they do have Stern Mystic. And this is honestly the worst outcome for Stern Mystic because they'll be able to see our flute. So that's really rough. Yeah, and they do attack in with the Stern Mystic so they can reset the Stern Mystic. And it's just, oof, this is a rough time here. We're going to set a bug, pass back to them. They're going to set one which is very likely the Stern Mystic. So now we actually have a choice here. We could just Dark Hole the entire board just to keep them off the knowledge that we are on Fluted Summoning Dragon. It's kind of greedy, though. If that's just a main-year bug, then... you know, I don't know. I think it's really greedy, especially now that we have Wuboku. I think we just save the Dark Hole for when they try and attack in with everything. We Wuboku, and yeah, we're gonna risk it. If they learn that we're on Flute, then it is what it is. But yeah, we're just gonna set Wuboku pass. And it is the Stern Mystic that they had set, so they will learn our strategy here. Really unfortunate. As a note, the Stern Mystic should also flip up this man-eater bug of ours, but neither of us realize it at the moment. I'm too caught up in them learning that Dragon is the side deck strategy, so it's kind of unfortunate. They will attack into the Man-Eater bug and will pop the Lodgin. Maybe if they had known it was Man-Eater bug, they would have attacked with Lodgin first, but I don't know. It's kind of iffy. I realize it here, and we're just both fine with it, so not that big of a deal in the long run, I think. We are going to bring out a Lodgin, attack into Stern Mystic. They will use the Wuboku that they revealed to us and pass back to us. They have Change of Heart, kind of rough. They're going to attack in with the Lodgin. We are just going to Wuboku. They know that we have the Wuboku anyways, so we might as well use it. They're going to bring out Summon Skull, pass back to us. We are just going to Dark Hole that whole board away. We could set another Flute as a bit of a bluff because they know our other 2 back row, but I think we're just saving it. I mean, we don't want to clog up our back row like we did last game, so... rip. They bring out a Reborn here to bring back the Summon Skull. You know, there was the possibility that this happened, so we could have set a Man-Eater bug. But setting Man-Eater bug onto an empty board is kind of rough. So I feel like this was the best way to do things. We also could have set the Man-Eater bug last turn instead of Dark Holding, but that's a bit risky. They know our back row, so they know what to play around, and I think it was best to do this play. Just hope that they didn't have Monster Reborn. And unfortunately, they did have Monster Reborn. And they have Raigeki too. So because they know we don't have Wuboku. So they know that they can get in this huge amount of damage here. And, oh man. Oh, and then we draw the Wuboku now. I mean, the Wuboku will be nice for later. But that just hurts. They will stop defense or set. So we will be able to pop the Summon Skull. Unfortunately, they do have a Last Will to follow that up with, so... And they do have Fisher here, so they will be able to get in 33, and there's a very good argument for Wubokuing this turn. The reason I don't is if they draw another monster next turn, we're just dead if we don't draw an out to this. So here, at least we know we're not dead. So we are just going to take 33, pass back to them. Well, that's an out to if they have another monster, but we're going to have to Wuboku here. For sure. So we're just going to Wuboku. They're going to set 1, pass back to us. And that's not going to do it. We have Flute and we have Blue Eyes, but we don't have Lord of D. And that's just going to be the end of the game. Nothing we can do about that. So, Game 2, we weren't able to stall long enough to pull off the Lord of D combo, but, you know, we're not giving up hope. We see that they side very quickly here, so we're like, okay, we're going to keep it on the dragon strategy. I don't think that they sided in any, like, dragon capture jars or serious sides against dragons. Not that I think dragon capture jar is actually a good side deck option. I think it actually is not the best because you can just beat dragons through other means. But we're going to keep on going with the dragon deck. Sure, we bricked, but maybe this game will be different. 2 Blue Eyes opening hand will make it really good if we do actually pull the Lord of D combo. But let's see how it goes. We're just going to bring out a Lodgin set 3. And honestly, this is a great half of our hand here. We do have the Trap Hole to deal with monsters that they potentially bring out. We have the Fissure. If they summon a monster, Fissure are Lodge in and then try and attack in. We have Reinforcements for later if they have a monster and you try to use Reinforcements to get over Lodge in. So we're feeling very good about this. They're going to bring out a Lodge in. We are just going to Trap Hole that because we don't really want to use up our Reinforcements or Fissure yet. And Raigeki's another great draw. Maybe not for now, but for later it's great. We're going to set it, pass back to them. They're going to bring out a Battle Ox and attack in here. They have Reinforcements, but we have Reinforcements as well. So we are able to keep our Lodge in on field. And while we don't have any interaction here, we do draw Flute, which means all we need is Lord of D. We've got 3 of those in deck. So it's not impossible to draw. And if we draw Lord of D, we've got the Flute, we've got the dragons. We can potentially pull off the combo. I think we're the closest to pulling off the combo that we have been, like, just throughout playing any of these dragon decks. So we're going to attack in with Lodge in. They use up a Waboku. That's good to see. That's 1 less Waboku they'll have for our dragon turn if we manage to pull that off. And we're just going to set the Flute as a bluff because, sure, they could Stern Mystic us, but they know we're on dragons anyways, so not that big a deal. They're going to set 1 pass back to us. We're going to think about this for a bit because we could just attack in. However, it's a defender that's kind of bad. So we are just going to change of heart here. Funnily enough, we could actually tribute off this monster for a Blue Eyes at the end of the turn to preserve our value, you know, to make change of heart a removal spell. We're going to flip up the Giant Soldier, and they're going to Trap Hole that. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think that maybe they should save the Trap Hole for one of our other threats, because it does clear one of their monsters. Sure, they're not taking 3,100 this turn. So actually, it probably was best for them because we do have Fissure next turn, so we'd be able to get in a lot of damage over the course of these 2 turns. And if we brought out Blue Eyes, then that would just be really bad. So they are going to take the 18. They do have a Fissure of their own, and they do have Reborn to bring back one of their Lodgins to keep the offensive pressure going here. And they will get in for 18. And then set 1. So this is a great board to Raigeki. Swords, though, gives us another option. So if we Swords Revealing Light this, we get to stall for a bit longer. And also, if that's a bug, we get to pop the bug anyways. So we do Swords, and it was a bug. So that will get popped, and we can save our Raigeki for later, which is very nice. Fissure's a pretty good draw here to replenish the Fissure that we have already on the field if we use that to get rid of the Lodgin. Giant Soldier's a great draw here. We can just summon that out, Fissure their Lodgin, and then attack in for game. Or not for game, but for getting closer to game. We're going to set the Fissure to replenish the one we just used. They'll set 1 pass back to us. Pot of Greed's great. Can we draw into Lord of D? We do. We have the combo online. Oh, that's so exciting. However, we don't want to get too greedy here. If that's a Waboku or a Trap Hole, which, you know, I just hovered over it so you know it's not. But if it was a Waboku or Trap Hole, then, you know, summoning out Lord of D this turn would be very, very greedy. And it would cost us the combo. And drawing a second Lord of D is not very likely. So I actually am just going to poke with the giant soldier, get him for 13. Set 1 here, trying to bait out a mass board removal, because they haven't used up any mass board removals, and if it's a Wuboku, then if we do the Lord of D play and they board removal, then we're in pretty dire straits. So we are just going to go for this. Yets is boring. I do think it's more safe, though. So, and they do use a board removal. So if that is a Wuboku set, then this was the right play. They're going to bring out Battle Ox, attack in. We don't really have anything to do with that. Pass back to us. Giant Soldier's good. We could just summon out Lord of D and try for the combo this turn. But again, if that's Trap Hole, we're in a bit of trouble. So we're going to try and bait out a Trap Hole here by summoning the Giant Soldier. We see that it's likely not Trap Hole. We are just going to Fisher away their monster. Attack in. And if it's a Wuboku, they're probably going to Wuboku here. They don't, which means that face down there is probably not anything that can stop our Lord of D Dragon combo here. So we're feeling pretty good about that. We just got to hope they don't draw another face down that actually does something here, and we'll be able to pull off an awesome combo next turn. They Pot of Greed. That's pretty bad for us. They're going to bring out Lodge in and attack into our Giant Soldier. Can't do anything about that. We'll take 5. And they do set a smaller trap. Really rough, but, you know, it could also just be a card that doesn't contest our combo here. We're going to bring out a Lord of D, and if that's not a Trap Hole, then we're feeling pretty good about this. It is a Trap Hole, though, so Lord of D dies, and we won't be able to pull off our combo. Real unfortunate. You know, maybe we should have just gone for the super aggressive, you know, like if we pull this off, we win. If they've got something, we could just lose, though. Combo, maybe we should have just gone for that. Unfortunately, you know, we don't. We just Raigeki this board because if they do have a way to get out more monsters on the field, like we saw they were playing Ultimate Offering in a previous game. So if they do have a way to get monsters on the field to kill us, we just lose. So we are just going to Raigeki that Lodge in a way. Feels kind of bad, but hopefully they don't have another monster to follow it up. They do have a monster. It's the Stern Mystic. Very unfortunate. They're going to attack in with 15. Pass back to us. Wuboku's a nice draw. It'll buy us a bit more time to potentially draw into another Lord of D. It's just unfortunate that they had something for the first one. They're going to attack him with Stern Mystic, and we could Wuboku this, but they can't have 2 reinforcements set, so we're not at risk of dying here. So we're just going to take it. We're going to save the Wuboku for when we could potentially die. That set is probably a Man-Eater because they didn't, you know, summon it out and try and go for game. So it's kind of tough. We could just leave things as they are and, you know, Wuboku next turn. I think we have to set the wall, though, even though it will likely get popped by the Man-Eater. Just so that they use up the Man-Eater, we can Wuboku next turn. They're at 400 life points, so if it is a Man-Eater, then they'll be very vulnerable here. So I'm just going to set the wall, pass back to them. They're going to pop the wall, tack in for everything. And we are going to Wuboku here. We really need to draw a good top deck here, or else we just lose. So give us something good. Hey, there we go. Lord of D. Oh, this is great. We may not have been able to pull off the combo earlier, but now we'll summon it out. Not a Trap Hole. And we're just going to Flute. We're going to bring out these 2 blue eyes that we've had in hand the entire game. And attack in for lethal. And that will be the end of the game. Oh, wow. That was very close, that last game there. You know, if we had just gone for the Lord of D combo earlier, it wouldn't have been as close. We would have just won the game right there. But we wanted to play it safe to make it, you know, more likely that we'd be able to pull it off. And it backfired on us, but luckily we drew the best possible card we could have drawn, Lord of D, and we were able to pull off the big combo here, and man, it felt good. It's moments like this which is why people play dragons, because being able to pull off something like this is just incredibly fun. Sure, if we had drawn just like any beater here, we also would have won, because if we just attacked in a Manure Bug, we just would have won. But, you know, it's so satisfying being able to bring out everything and just attack in. And earlier in the game, if we had gone for it, we would have just won. So maybe I should have just been playing more aggressive with this deck and trying to win that way. But I'm not sure this game actually shows off the merit of siding into this sort of strategy, because, you know, we weren't really doing much stalling this game. We were summoning out our giant soldiers in attack to attack in. And yeah, it was kind of just a regular dragon deck almost. But I do think it's an interesting concept, even if it may not be the best. But, like, it's neat. We managed to pull off the combo, so I like it. I do have another game to show with this deck, though, and let's see if that game goes a bit differently, or potentially shows some of the merits or disadvantages of playing this deck. Okay, we've got a game against Deo Zomph here, a staple on the channel, and yeah, we're playing Dragon Stall. Let's just dive into it, because the first game, you know, it might last a while. That's the stall mill, so. Oh, this is not the best hand. They're going to set 4 and pass, and Trap Hole's nice, but like, ooh, this is kind of rough. If that's Man-Eater, then our day will be ruined, so we are just going to activate Swords here. Maybe a bit greedy, but it's not the worst. It can buy us time to draw into like Ultimate Offering as well. Or just any traps that can do something. So I like this play, even though it might be a bit greedy. And they're just going to set some more pass back to us. We are going to set another to try and bait out a mass board removal, and they do. They Dark Hole. So now we don't have to worry about Dark Hole anymore, which is nice. Ah, there's the Ultimate Offering. Okay, this is pretty great. Now, we're just going to keep our defenders in hand, because we don't really need to commit them yet. And we're just going to set one pass back to them. We're playing around if this is Bug. If it's Bug, then that could be really bad for us, but they're going to bring out Worm Beast and flip up Giant Soldier and just pass back to us. Or no, attack in to us. But passing priority, we'll get to activate Ultimate Offering, set a Bug, pop the Giant Soldier, and they'll end their turn, so Worm Beast goes back to hand. Maybe we should have set the Wall of Illusion there, just to have a defender on board, but if they have any fissures, that would be pretty bad for us, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to pass back to them. They're going to bring out Wicked Worm Beast. We'll Trap Hole that, because Wicked Worm Beast can be pretty pesky for this deck to deal with, potentially. We're just going to set up a Boku. They're going to bring out a Neo and try and attack in. We're going to pay 5, set 1, and they're going to keep attacking in, and that'll get bounced back to hand. So, pretty nice. They are going to Fissure, unfortunately, so won't be able to do anything about that. Dark Hole, pretty good. If they overcommit, we do have Waboku set, so we can always Dark Hole their board away. They're going to attack in, and we are just going to set the Bug, pop the Lodge in, and we do draw defenders, so that's pretty nice. We're just going to set it, pass back to them. They Swords, we misclick, so it bounces back to hand. It's just Spirit of the Harp, so yeah, you can see that I did not cheat here. Misclicks do happen. They're going to set 1, pass back to us, and we're just going to keep the Bug in hand. It's a pretty good draw. And they're going to flip up this Bug, pop our Spirit. We are going to pay 5, set a Bug, pop the Lodge in. And they will get in for 450 here. Not the worst. It's just chip damage. Gyakuteno is okay. We can Change of Heart one of their monsters to bring it out, so that's not bad. We will use the Swords here. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we should have just Change of Hearted their monster, Gyakuteno, to set it. Sure, you know, a face-up Manure Bug isn't the best target for Gyakuteno. I don't know. Maybe we should have just saved this as well to just Waboku, a big offensive threat, Dark Hole their board. I don't know. There are a couple of different ways we could have played this, and Fissure doesn't really help us here. Waboku isn't really that helpful because we've already got another Waboku on field. Wall is definitely not helpful because they can bounce back their Manure. So kind of unfortunate. Although maybe we should have let the Maneater bounce back, so then we would have change of hearted it potentially, flipped it up, popped on their monsters, brought out Gyakuteno. That could have been a really good play. Unfortunately, we didn't do it. There are also ways to play around that as well, like just set out a bluff, knowing that we'll think it's a Maneater, and so it's a bit too fragile. So we're just gonna set the wall here. They'll take 150, pass back to us. Another defender is nice insurance. We're gonna think about this. If that is a Maneater, and they can flip it up, attack into. Well, I mean, if it's a Maneater, then if we set another monster, they can flip it up, pop the other monster, attack into wall. It would be pretty bad for us. So we are going to change of heart and bring out Gyakuteno here. I think this was a mistake because if it is a Maneater, we can just set a defender with wall. Or not with wall, with Ultimate Offering. And this just plays into like Raigeki. So I don't know how I feel about this. We're going to set a trap hole. They are going to Ultimate Offering here. And Raigeki chain to it to bring out a Battle Ox, dodging around trap hole. Yeah, that's kind of the worst case scenario for us. They're going to attack into the Giant Soldier. And they will just Fisher it away. Pass back to us. We draw another defender, which is pretty nice. We check their graveyard to see what they've used up. We see that they've used up, Dark Hole, Raigeki. They still got Change of Heart left, but honestly, that's not too big a fear because we do have Wuboku and then another Wuboku in hand. So this isn't the worst. They're going to flip up the Spirit of the Harp, try and attack in for everything here. We're just going to Wuboku, and we'll get the Spirit of the Harp back. We draw another defender. We're just going to set it because they're out of board removal, so they're going to attack in, reinforcements over it, set another pass back to us. Card Destruction is an interesting draw, but not really what we want to see right now. They're going to pop our Spirit with their Bug, and we will just Wuboku this. Pass back to them. We Dark Hole their board away, and we are just going to set one, set two, pass back to them. Pot is decent for them. They're going to set one, pass back to us. That Soul Exchange doesn't really do anything here, and since they do have 5 cards in hand, we are going to Card Destruction, trying to draw into something better. I think maybe this was a bit greedy. I don't know. I think this was a bit greedy, potentially. And we do get punished for our greed with an Ultimate Offering draw off the top. If we just waited one more turn, we would have been able to discard that as well, draw deeper into our deck to potentially draw some defensive options, but that was not the best. We're going to Reborn a Gyakuteno just to play it safe. And pass back to them. And they do have Maneater. They will pop our Gyakuteno. They're going to bring out a Neo. And they are just going to attack into our set. It's Giant Soldier. They'll take 3. Pass back to us. Trap Hole is not the best here because it can't, affect an Ultimate Offering summon. So they are going to preemptively reinforcements on their Neo. So that way they'll be able to chain Ultimate Offering, tribute summon out a Summon Skull to dodge around Trap Hole. They're going to Reborn back the Gyakuteno and chain Ultimate Offering again to bring out an Aquamator. And this is just way too much damage on board. Nothing we can do about it. And we will just, that will be the end of the game. We don't have Wubokus or anything. So, pretty rough. Maybe we should have fishered away their Bug in case they did this sort of play. I don't think it really would have mattered that much. Yeah, I think saving the Fisher was right. I think the big misplay was the Card Destruction. I think it was just a bit too premature, and I think it might have come back to bite us here. Although, arguably, they could have just brought out all the monsters in their hand with, like, Ultimate Offering and attacked in for everything. So, it might not have mattered, but, yeah, that's game 1, and we actually did lose game 1. Which is a bit unfortunate. But, they know we're on stall now. Maybe they've sided against that, and they'll be taken by surprise when we go into our dragon play. So, let's try that. We're going to side into dragons, and this is an okay first hand. We do have Lord of D, so it's one piece of our combo. We need to draw a Flute and some others, but we've got ways to stall out a bit. So we're feeling pretty good about that. We'll just set the wall, set everything else, pass back to them. They're just going to mirror us. And we're just going to pass. If it's a bug, it's a bug. We do have Trap Hole to deal with if they bring out another more powerful monster. They're going to change of heart, flip up those two monsters, try and attack in, and, you know, we'll just take it. We don't really have a way to stop that, and we're not going to Trap Hole our own monsters, so they will tribute set a monster here, and we're just going to set one, set another, pass back to them. If it's Summon Skull, we can just Trap Hole it. So that's what we'll try and do. They're going to bring out a Lodgin, Raigeki away our board. That's kind of unfortunate. This will be another 3k damage. So they're getting us down really low really early. And it's just rough. We do draw Waboku now, which is not bad. So we're just going to set the wall, set the Waboku, pass back to them. And they're just going to try and attack in. They will get the Lodgin bounced. They're just going to set another pass back to us. And we're just going to pass. Again, you know, we do have the Waboku, so we can save it. And then Raigeki afterwards. Reborn back a defender, potentially. We've also got swords to stall for even longer. So we're feeling fine about this. They're going to bring out Lodgin, flip up the bug. We're going to Waboku. And we are going to bring out a Lodgin of our own that will eat a Trap Hole, which means they're still on Trap Holes. Kind of unfortunate. We will just Raigeki their board away, reborn back a Lodgin, and try and get in. They've got one card in hand. We do have reinforcements to back up the Lodgin. And if they do manage to deal with all this, you know, we do have swords. So they will bring out a Lodgin of their own. We'll attack into it. We'll reinforcements to get over it. And now they're down to just top decking. So we're feeling pretty good about that. They do manage to top deck a monster. Kind of unfortunate. We'll attack in. It's a giant soldier. Can't do anything about that. We're going to activate swords because there is a world in which they activate Fisher, clear our Lodgin, summon another monster, and then kill us. So we don't want that to happen. We're just going to attack in. We could have probably summoned out Lord of D to get an additional damage here, but if they have Dark Hole, then we lose a major piece of our combo. So really unfortunate. We're going to use the reinforcements to get over their monster. And we're going to try and bring out Akumator, get in for a bunch of damage here. Unfortunately, it is a giant soldier, so we won't be able to get over that. And Waboku's a pretty great draw. We switch the Akumator to defense, just set one, pass back to them. I think maybe we could have Man-Eater bugged here. Yes, it does play into Dark Hole, but I think we should have just done it. Oh, Fisher. Okay, so we shouldn't have done it. That's perfect. We're just going to attack in with the Lodgin because we don't have a way to back up our Akumator, really. We could Waboku, but I think we want to save Waboku for worst case scenario. They're just going to set a bug, pop the Mator, so it wouldn't have mattered anyways. They're going to set one, set another mystery card that we have no idea what it is, and pass back to us. And we are just going to attack into it. It is a giant soldier. We're just going to set one, pass back to them. They will soul exchange away our bug, which is a bit unfortunate here. And, you know, if that is a Summon Skull, we don't have any way to deal with it, really. They're going to flip up the Summon Skull, switch the giant soldier to attack, and we do have to Waboku here. If that is a reinforcements, which, you know, we have no idea what it is, but if it is reinforcements, then this will be lethal on board here. So we do have to Waboku, and then we'll just set a card here. We keep Lodgin and attack because they'll have to attack over it with the Summon Skull, and they won't be able to get over a defender with their giant soldier. So they're going to attack in to the Lodgin. We'll lose 7. They're going to attack in to the Akumator, and they'll Fisher away the Akumator at the end of the turn. Kind of unfortunate, but we do draw Dark Hole, which is the best thing we could have drawn here. We're going to Dark Hole their board away, set the giant soldier. They'll set one, pass back to us. We are thinking here because if they do have Dark Hole, then committing another monster board would be really rough. But I don't know. If they have Dark Hole, they win no matter what, I think, anyways. So, yeah. We're debating about setting the Man-Eater for the next turn, but I think it's just I don't know. We're just going to pass. I think that's correct. The only thing is if they have like a Fisher, If they have a Fisher and a Monster, they win here. So maybe we should have just set the Maneater, but Pot of Greed's pretty good. They had the Dark Hole anyways, so wouldn't have mattered. And that's the end of the game. So, you know, this showing of the deck did a lot worse than the previous one. We had Lord of D and Blue Eyes in hand. We just didn't have enough time to get the combo together. Yeah, it's rough. I talked to them after the game as well, and they said that they had sided out one Trap Hole, one Woboku. So they were on a bit less of those cards, which can really mess up our strategy. But still, it's like, I think it's kind of not enough. Yeah, I think that the stall version of Dragons is a very interesting idea. I just don't know how much better it is than the regular version of Dragons. We did manage to pull off the combo, though. So I know that that made me very happy, and I hope that it was exciting for all of you to see the game in which we did pull off the combo, because I thought that was a really cool game. But yeah, I think that this Dragon deck just has pretty much the same problems that the other Dragon deck did, but it's also less consistent in games 2 and 3. So you're basically playing a worse version of Stall Mill. And it's just, I don't know. I think if you're playing Dragons, you should probably go with the regular Dragon deck. I think that that's a bit better, potentially. But each of these are valid options. And, you know, as I said in my previous Dragon video, there's just so many ways to play this deck to try and, you know, adapt this strategy to your own purposes and play styles. So I figured I'd show off this version to just provide another way of playing it. But this has probably been my last Dragon video for some time. I might come back to the deck at a later point, depending on if I come up with a new idea for what to do with it, or if any of you have any ideas in the comments that I really like and I decide to throw together and make a video on. But this has been pretty much my thoughts on Dragons. And, you know, I was saving Dragons for the end because I wanted to put as much theory into it as possible and think about the deck in as many ways as I could. So this is actually the last, like, unique sort of deck that I think can reasonably win in Yugi-Kaiba format. Of course, there are things like Stall Burn and, like, I mean, you could play like Zombie Tribal. You could play, there are many, many different strategies you could play in Yugi-Kaiba format. But I wanted to focus on decks that did something that is unique among other decks in the format, that weren't just like worse versions of other decks, and that I thought could actually, you know, take some games a decent amount of the time. Like, Stall Burn does something unique, but I don't think it's good enough to win in general. So I didn't cover it. If y'all really want me to cover Stall Burn, I could. I just don't think it's that interesting, and I don't think it can actually win. But yeah, this is like the last major, you know, strategy in Yugi-Kaiba that I had left to cover, which means that while I'm not going to stop making Yugi-Kaiba format content, I will start transitioning into the next format, which is Critter format, which changes the game in a lot of different ways. And so I'm excited to cover that with y'all and sort of explore what decks might be the best in that format. But if you enjoyed this video and want to keep up to date on the videos that I release, please make sure to, well, first of all, like the video, because that does help out with the visibility of these videos on YouTube. And also to subscribe, so that way you're always notified when I release a new video. And yeah, it also helps out the channel a lot, motivates me to make these videos the best that I can. But until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero. I'm signing off.